So you're saying as soon as Tracy sits down, we can start? So we're going to call to order the regular meeting of the City of West Sacramento Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission for June 4th. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to have Commissioner Eckler lead us in that today.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Followed by the roll call.
Chair Price.
I am here.
Vice Chair Sandoval. Commissioner Ahmad. Commissioner Eckler.
Here.
Commissioner Hargrove.
Present.
Commissioner Jans.
I'm here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Alternate Member Horowitz. We have a quorum.
Thank you. So anyone wishing to speak to the commission should fill out a request with the clerk. I don't see any papers right yet. Just have that in before the end of the agenda item you wish to speak about. Moving on to General Administration Function Part 1, 1A, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the Commission. Remember, the Commission is prohibited by law from discussing items not on the agenda brought to us at this time. No one wishes to speak at this point. Thank you. 1B, Commissioner Communications. Commissioner Hargrove.
So under Commissioner Communications, I just want to report on an event I went to this weekend, which was a great community event. It was the 4th Annual West Sacramento Neighborhood Picnic, and this was an especially historic picnic because it's the last official event at Memorial Park for the City of West Sacramento. Puts in almost $2 million to restore that wonderful park. So that was kind of fun to see one last look of how it was, and will be even more fun when we come back and it's new and improved. That event is put together by a West Sacramento resident, Peggy Bell, who has really put a lot of work and effort into it. It was enormously fun. We were over by what I call the Pee Wee Diamond, as we're all, I don't know if that's still the Pee Wee Diamond or not, but it had, the entire infield was filled with vendors on both sides, lots of local businesses. Over in left field of the major field is where a lot of the events were for kids. They had everything you could think of that you would want at a picnic like that, from food and drink to three-legged races. We had all the flags that came out from the 9/11 memorial with John Vincent, which was really great. It really made the park look beautiful and made it feel even more special. And he lined where all the races were happening, the three-legged races, the egg spoon race, and all those fun races you can think of. He lined that whole race course with flags, so it was really neat to see. So I know that the city had put some support behind that, and we appreciate that. West Sacramento Police Department was there. 4 of the 5 city council members were there. Mayor Cabaldon, Vice Mayor Orozco, Councilmember Guerrero, and Councilmember Sandine were all there. So it was really well supported by the city, and it was just a really fun event. And we hope folks will come out next year for the 5th annual West Sacramento Neighborhood Picnic.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to communicate?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. I was pleased to be able to participate in a tree planting at Elkhorn Park with entertainment provided by and assistance provided by the Girl Scout troop, who had performed some songs for us, and we planted some lovely trees there. I also was able to participate in the senior fair, which was extraordinarily well attended, and there were a lot of happy recipients of raffle prizes. So we had a lot of generosity from contributors to a range of prizes and a lot of displays and tables there with information that our seniors could glean. So it was great to see the turnout, and I appreciated the opportunity to meet more folks and enjoy the afternoon. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anything else? Oh, Nate?
Just want to say that pretty excited and got to take part in a little bit of the ceremonies and the festivities, but also check out a little bit of the first leg of the Sycamore Trail, of how that's been put together, and excited to see how that's connecting in the north area of West Sacramento, and as it progresses through other phases here, I think that's going to be a huge benefit for us. I've talked to quite a few people that are just really, really enjoying that, so that's certainly a huge benefit to our community.
And Dave?
I also attended the Arbor Day event with Commissioner Reed. That was really great. We coordinated with Tree Davis, who was there as well. They had a little booth and got to kind of understand a little bit better about what they do. If you don't know, they offer free trees to certain areas up to, there's a southern border here in West Sacramento that they'll provide free shade trees to the community, which I think is great. I attended both closing day ceremony parades for both the West Sac girls softball and the West Sacramento Little League, which was huge turnouts for both. They had vendors there, and the parades went through the Bright Broderick area for the girls softball, and then for the Little League it went through the state streets mainly, and then their typical loop. So that was a good experience as well. And I also checked out the new home development in the LGI place down there on Southport. They've been kicking off a new development out there, which is going to start building out down on the very southern end of town. They've got some contemporary style straight up homes that are coming in, so it's nice to see some new development coming in and starting to pick back up here in West Sacramento.
All righty. Next on the agenda is item 2, update on the Recreation Center Exercise and Wellness Program. Looks like Kaiser Miller is coming up to speak to us.
All right, there we are. Thank you for, yes, now they can hear me. I'll probably turn it back off. Thanks for having us today. I'm actually going to introduce Jake as Exercise and Wellness Coordinator as well. I want him to come up with me. We're going to do a little tandem presentation today. So just to give you a little bit of a snip of what we've been doing lately. I'm not going to start with that. I'll start with this one. So we are currently at about 300 and 400 people that are checking in every day, right about now, right? And then this Saturday, we're probably going to bump to like 700 to 1,000 check-ins. So we're gearing up for that right now. A lot of hiring, a lot of training, retraining. That's pretty much what I've been doing a lot of lately, as well as many of our other teammates. I think we brought on 35 more aquatics staff this year. That is a huge jump and a lot of hard work for the aquatics team to get everyone back on. We kind of have those cycles of staff that we have a big opening, everyone's graduating, moving on, and then we have to fill it. So our HR department has probably wants to strangle us, but we are thankful for their hard work. We currently, in May, we have about 1,500 active pass holders, a little bit over that, at the West Sacramento Rec Center. And based on June 8, 2018, last year, we're going to jump up to about 2,200. So we have been really working hard at encouraging and emailing and social media, getting people to come in, fill out their waivers now, get their passes updated now. We'll start it at a future date, so the lines aren't quite so long. So if you know others around, make sure they come in the next few days to get those things taken care of, to try to reduce that pressure when it's really hot. I heard that it's not going to be super hot this weekend, so kind of excited about that. We also, out of the 1,500 pass holders, we have 25% of them are on the electronic fund transfer. So that's something that we would like to work on increasing that number. That's really good for stabilizing the revenue. So without that, I will introduce Jake.
Hello, everyone. Go on to the next one.
Yeah.
All right. So we do have actively 7 personal trainers contracting with us here at the Recreation Center, myself included, as a now full-time employee. We also just recently added a new personal trainer. Our demand was growing for personal trainers. Our clientele were asking us, like, we guys can get some more so we can get some stuff going here. So we added a new trainer, which then coincided perfectly with a recent personal training promotion that we ran at the Recreation Center, which brought in 8 new personal training clients and as well as 6 returning clients, so people who were training previously, haven't been there for a while, and now have come back and started working with us again. So we're really excited to have them back, and it really shows that they appreciate our program and see the value in it. Our trainers work with clients of wide age range. Our youngest client we have is 13, and our oldest client is 96 years young, and she is amazing. But also working with a wide variety of goals in mind as well as general fitness, weight loss, strength training, but also overall, most of the time, our clients are looking for better quality of life, just trying to move better, feel better, and we definitely make that as one of our main goals for all of our clients.
Yeah, and currently they're doing about 55 sessions a week, approximately. Moving into the child care center, so that's one of our components. We allow for people that when they're coming in to work out, they come into the child care, and we have about 85 kids per week, or check-ins per week in that room. This week has been really quiet because everyone is at graduations and stuff, but other than that, we have some busy days. We also added this year drop-in shops, and those are a great way to serve the families that are coming there. Normally, they stay on site while they exercise, and these drop-in shop days are really special because they can leave the rec center site. They have to have all their paperwork filled out ahead of time, but it's been fun to hear about the families actually choosing to hang out together outside of the rec center. They usually work out together, and now they're hanging out together. So I think that's a great community building piece. We also have a Clubhouse Rec program it's a social play program. It's in the afternoon on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it was just a dead time. We didn't have anything going on in the room at that time, and so we added this 3 to 6 years old. We usually have the young side, people that maybe are going to preschool, and it's just additional time, but it's also a great place for them to just make relationships and learn how to work with one another.
Right, moving on. Oop, wrong way. All right. So in addition to using the workout facility at the Recreation Center, we also do offer a wide variety of group exercise classes as well as specialty classes. The group exercise classes are included with the pass, and we are running more around 55 classes per week. So we have a wide variety, anything from yoga to spin classes to water aerobics. We have a wide variety there, but mainly just having that diversity as far as like mindfulness, cardio, strength training. So we got a little bit of something for everybody that comes in. We also do have specialty classes. These are a additional fee class, so they are revenue generating classes as well. Classes like our Club 55, which is meant for our active aging group, really focuses on working on balance, coordination, and endurance. We also have a combo class, our TRX and Strength Camp classes. TRX, again, the key is to develop balance, core strength, conditioning strength using the TRX suspension trainer. I don't know if you ever play with that. It's a really cool device that attaches to it and anchored points, or using your own body weight and based on where you stand, you can increase or decrease the difficulty. So it's really easy for a lot of levels of participants to use. And then also the Strength Camp is buddied up with it. That is just using pure strength training modalities, using things like dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells. And the main goal there is to teach people how to move weight correctly, but also move it safely so that they can develop those skills and get stronger in the process. Another class we also offer, special class, is a Pilates Plus class. It's kind of a combo with our Club 55, taught by one of the instructors there. Aims to develop core strength, but also increase range of motion as well. One of the biggest things that all of our classes do provide is another sense of community. People tend to come in, again, work out with each other. They see each other and like, oh, hey, I just saw you spin. You going to go do yoga next? So they get build up some good relationships there, and they start building their sense of community.
All right. So, I jumped the gun. So one of the last things I wanted to mention about the active aging component that we have at the, many of you maybe have heard of Silver Sneakers or Silver and Fit programs. We have those two programs at the rec center. And, 4 years ago when we started that, we just had a few people. And now we currently have about over 300 people that are coming in regularly, using this. And if they are not regular, then we actually take them off the list because there's a lot of administrative work going on when they keep them on the list. And so there's quite a few more people that are on the sure they can come in, but we just haven't seen them for a while list. So that is, we get a certain amount of money per check-in for that. There's definitely a lot of work that goes into it administratively, but it's easy for them and it pays for their membership. So that's a service that they get from their insurance provider. So we're finding that we're doing a little bit more of that, and people are hearing a lot more about that. And then of the 55 group exercise classes that Jake was mentioning, we specifically have 16 classes a week that they're not specifically for active aging, but they will serve that population well. And we, by design, do not call them active aging because anyone can go to the low impact classes, and we want to serve everyone for those. But typically, those that need low impact are going to those 16 classes a week. And then we'll move on to our healthy cooking. It's just one of our, a component of the rec center, the exercise and wellness piece, the wellness component. Mayumi has been one of our chefs for years now. I think we're on maybe class number 45. So once a month we have these, and we can only take about 18 people because we don't have a commercial kitchen, obviously. But she really works wonders with the workplace that you can kind of see in the pictures. Like, she's really just using tables and a plug, and she brings her kitchen stuff and does it all right there in front of them. So we get great feedback from that, and a lot of returning people coming back over and over again. Plus, the staff love to work on those nights because if there's anything left over, they're there helping her clean up.
The other thing about the healthy cooking night, it can be kind of hard to do classes because I teach my classes right next door to it, and we all smell everything next door, so everyone gets distracted. I'm like, okay, folks, like, what? The fitness challenge is actually a really important one for me. When Kaisa hired me on initially as a personal trainer 6 years ago, she offered me, hey, we need a coach for the fitness challenge. That was for my first meeting. She got me involved with it. And now I'm proud to say we've just completed our 27th fitness challenge as of yesterday, and I've been involved with 23 of those. So really great program that we do. It's a 6-week challenge. It's intended as a wellness lifestyle challenge, but also, hey, gets you in shape just before summer, especially this one we just completed here. Each week includes a check-in with a meeting with a different educational topic. So just to check in how everybody's doing, the progress they're making. And our education topics wide range from nutrition to an exercise topic within a lifestyle wellness, where we can kind of delve deeper into ways they can make their lives better. And then each week we have different workouts done with some of our group exercise instructors as well as our personal trainers. So it's a good way for our participants to get exposed to different things that we also offer at the Recreation Center. We had a really good group this past time. Everyone was a really close-knit group. Everyone was rooting each other on, supporting each other. It was actually one of the most fun I've ever had with the fitness challenge this past one. And it was just shows that we can create these more supportive environments for everybody. That's the one things I really appreciate to do.
I think we say that about everyone after we finish them, though. Right?
But they just keep getting better.
I know, they do. And I didn't say this in the beginning, and I should have, and I meant to, but Jake, like he was saying, he started with us as a personal trainer like 5 years ago, and then an opportunity came up, and the coordinator position was open, and he applied, and it's been a great fit. So he started with us, it's been 3 months, so he's not even out of probation yet, but it doesn't feel like he just started because he's been on the team for a long time in a different capacity, and he's jumping into the administrative component of it now, and it's been great to have him on our team in this way.
Thank you.
So if you guys have any questions for us, otherwise we are done.
Any questions over here? Matt, down the end. Start on that side, and we'll work this way.
First of all, just full disclosure, my wife was actually one of the first instructors to be hired at the rec center when it opened. She still teaches yoga there. It's a great class if you want to go to it. And then also my daughter works in the child care there, and she loves that. So I just want to make sure that is out there. But I mean, my question is really, too, is how impacted are you right now? In the summertime, are you at full max with your classes that you're putting together? Are you half? Where are you in terms of capacity?
Good question. So it does fluctuate from time, and in fact, sometimes summer is lighter in the classes because there's more people in the center, but they might be at the pool or. But when we did a recent study, because we collect all of that data, and it takes a long time to put it all together, but when we did that in 2018, any classes that were under the 75% threshold we looked at, and we said, what can we do to change it? Is it the time? Is it the class? Is it the instructor? And then, so we were measuring that up against what not the maximum for the classroom, because if you think about it, you could probably squeeze a lot of people in there, but what would feel like a really good, solid, big class, you know? And we were, most of our classes were between I think it was like 65 to, and up, categories. We had a few that we needed to tweak, and we did, and we made those changes, and we've seen some improvements in there. And then with that being said, we also looked at how many check-ins versus how many people are in the group exercise classes. And the national average is about 25% of the people that are coming into your gym or whatever are going to group exercise classes. And we reached about 35%, so about 10% higher than the national for the people they're coming in for. So that's really important for us to know revenue-wise when we're paying out a lot of money to group exercise instructors and there's no direct revenue going into that. It's really important to know and remember people are coming here. 35% of the people that are in the room or in the space right now are here because of the group exercise classes. So that helps remind us when we're feeling like the group exercise or expenditures are feeling high.
So you feel like you're at a comfortable level right now and you have some room to grow. I mean, the city is growing and there's some new houses going in. So it feels like the facility is comfortable for you, and you can accommodate more people.
We could definitely expand further. We've been holding back a lot with the number of classes just to be fiscally responsible. But we have quite a few holes that we would like to fill at some point. But at this time, it's not the right time to do it. But we're hoping with the growth we can do that.
So, I mean, that's good to know because I know part of our discussion 10 years ago was whether or not having one facility was going to be able to accommodate the demand in the city for that. So that's good to hear that we're still able to accommodate where the demand is right now.
Well, what you really need is like 3 group exercise rooms and cardio rooms at 5 to 7 p.m., right?
Yeah.
And then you need them to go away and turn into something else later. That's what we really need. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
The other policy discussion we had on this as the rec center was being planned and moved forward, and this was kind of a bigger one, but is something that I just personally have observed was the concern that the rec center was going to have an impact on private gyms in the city. And it was especially of concern at the city council level with, I believe they were called the 15th Street Gym at the time. I call them the Happy Market Gym. And I just had my wife actually was an instructor there at the time and at the rec center when it opened. And my observation, it seems that 15th Street Gym is under new ownership, is now Results, and they seem to be doing really well. A couple other new gyms have opened up in the city, and I know that Darcy and her friends both go to yoga at the rec center, and I think it's called Rebel Yell Yoga over here. So it seems like the city and the private gyms have been able to play nicely together in all of this and grow and get along and share patrons. Is that your sense?
Yeah, it was a little rough at first, right? Because it was new and different. Not on our side, of course, but in the relationship building with the private. But quite a few gyms have come up since we've opened. I mean, the market is pretty saturated, I think, with the opportunities for it. And I think that's something that we've been talking about as staff is like, what is our niche and what is our target market, and making sure that we are focusing on that. And really what our target market is not necessarily those top 15% of people that are going to go to whatever gym is the most convenient, the newest, the freshest, whatever. We're going to focus on those that maybe wouldn't go to a gym because it's kind of intimidating, or it doesn't feel like it's their gym. And that's where we're finding that we're thriving. That Silver Sneakers, Silver and Fit program is a really great way to make it more accessible. And I think that moving forward, we have a tough market because we're trying to be the whole family, right? The whole gamut, and it's hard to do that all. But I think we've been trying to do that as well as we can.
Well, I congratulate you. I think that focus, first of all, figuring out who your market is, and then figuring out, and I think the market that you just said, you have a public service component in that, and I absolutely expect that a rec center that the city is running has that public service component to it. So that's good to hear that that's at the forefront of your mind as you do this. And thank you very much for coming. I was excited to hear about all this stuff. I wish I was there more myself, seeing it all personally, but I get good reports.
We have the rest of your family there almost.
Congratulations on coming aboard, and it sounds like that you've been a great asset to the team over there. So welcome, and we hope that we see you continue to do great things in the future. A couple of things that I was, certainly it's awesome seeing the diversity in the classes, and then especially what I was wondering is, in a correlation compared with your group classes to your specialty classes where you're charging that extra money, how has that been received as far as, paying that additional amount to get that, maybe that specialty type class, and, what marketing do you throw towards those compared to, say, some of your, more traditional group classes?
So the good news is we don't use the same spaces that we use for our free classes.
Okay.
So that helps. If we ever tried to do that, I feel like it would feel like nickel and diming, right? And that's not our intention. However, in order to keep trainers and group exercise instructors and contractors satisfied and being creative and doing all these new things, occasionally we need to make sure that they have an additional source of revenue, and that is driven by their passion and their desire to provide this specialty service. Okay. So we really try to make sure that the type of service that they're going to provide is very different than the group exercise. It's not competing with, and for Jake's class, for the Pilates Plus, we're talking really small groups. Okay. So if you go to like a Results or another place and you're having that like small group, you're paying $100 a month or whatever to go there, and you can't go to just work out. Oh, more. you're going there at those specified times and having maybe a smaller kind of training. So that's kind of we were trying to create a smaller group, a very specialty focus that they were looking on, and then using some equipment that's not really on the main floor.
Okay.
Partly because of the clientele that we have, not all of them. Would that be a smart thing to throw some of those things out on the floor in the small space that we really have there? So we're trying to make sure that we're not doing too many of those things. But I hope that answered the question.
How's the temperature felt on that? Like how are people receiving that?
Yeah, so Jake's class, I'll let you talk about that.
For both of my classes, I actually have a running wait list for people that want to participate. So when someone drops off, I give the next person a call. Then usually like the opportunity may have passed for them, but then the next person usually jumps back in. I've been having the same people I've been having since I started these classes are the same people that's stuck with me the entire time. So I say that they are pretty satisfied with the quality instruction that they're getting. And so one thing I wanted to add really quick was that all these specialty classes were all brought on by the contractors originally. They came with the idea of, hey, I would like to teach this class. I'd like to get kind of people grouped together and for a special kind of class. What can we do? And that's where we kind of go from there. So it's all from our contractors that also feel really comfortable of approaching us with, hey, I got this idea for a class. What can we do for it?
No, I think that answers my question completely. And I'm more looking at it from the community, like, do they see this as a good value proposition for them to invest in and get more engaged? So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to commend you both for coming and presenting this. One of the highlights for me being on this commission, I'm a new member, and is seeing all these other things that are going on in our city that maybe I'm not having direct contact with regularly. And I just wanted to commend you both on it. I think that the drop and shop idea that or the program that you had, I think that's a fantastic thing. And one of the things I love about the city is that sense of community, and I think that hits the nail on the head for those kind of things. And then just to see all the other depths of the different programs that you have running. It's not just coming in and lifting weights or doing a couple classes. You expand into all these other areas too. Please come back and update us again, because I really enjoyed this. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Hi. I was going to say how kind of pleased I was with how I kind of echo what Matt was saying about how at the beginning it was kind of like we had the workout room, you had some classes, and it was just kind of going along. And then now you're seeing like all the other spaces that weren't getting used as much, getting used all the time. So all the rooms are, like you said, they're constantly in use. You have the food stuff in the community areas. The community areas are being rented out. The pool areas are being rented out. So it's like it's kind of fully utilizing the space that was provided, and that's great to see. And then also just like Dave was saying, the breadth of different things you can do. It's not a specialty gym. It's not, by having the TRX, having the different specialty areas or different things that you can do are there, but it's not. It's like it's something. I get what you were saying is like you're trying to please everyone, and it's really hard to please everyone without doing something, especially in the space that you have, that doesn't allow you to reconfigure the rooms. So it's great doing what you're doing, so keep on doing it.
One thing I was just going to mention based on what you said, I thought I keep trying to focus back to that community focus. And one of the things that I think that sets us apart too and keeps us community based is if you've ever joined a gym and you feel like you had to sell your soul to get out of the contract, you have that feeling like you will never go back there. No matter where you move, if you go to a different place, you just won't go there. And we have committed to make sure that that's hopefully not the relationship that they have with us. We know that people are going to go, they're going to come, they're going to, they have to explore some new thing that's in town. They absolutely do. And then when summertime comes, they're going to come back to the pool. Or they see this instructor that also teaches at our, space, and they realize, oh, I can go over there as well. So it's not about a competition. It's about continually serving people throughout their life. Maybe in that space of their life, it's not the best time for them, but they might come back, and that's what we're hoping to continue that returner.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything that everybody said in terms of complimenting you for the accomplishments. I really appreciate that you have both a public service orientation, but you also seem very business-minded and strategic in the decisions that you're making. One of the areas that I have a big interest in is in the healthy aging and wellness issue. And you were talking about the 15% and the early adopters and those target audiences that are going to find you. And so I'm interested in that next tier, which is you finding them. And in the space of the aging arena, it would be in the areas of fall prevention and balance improvement. And so there's an educational and outreach component to alerting folks to the fact that, one, this facility and these opportunities are there, but two, reaching the folks, especially those who don't particularly use the website or emails. So I'm interested in if you've been thinking in terms of outreach or now that we have VIA, which has, intersects one of the transportation obstacles that we might have for that particular target audience, whether what kinds of strategies and especially communications and outreach you've been thinking about in terms of getting people to understand that if they improve their balance, they can reduce their fall risk and the possibility that they would end up in the ER or a rehab facility.
Mm-hmm. Well, we could definitely always do better in that area. One of the things about marketing is that it definitely takes a lot of planning and time and energy and money. So we do, I think, as much as we can with what we have. One of the things that really does help, though, is the Silver Fit and Silver Sneakers program. That markets itself because they get a little letter in their mailbox, and then they can call and they ask who are local gyms that provide this service, and that's where we get a lot of them. But then word of mouth is absolutely by far our favorite thing. We've done a lot of handwritten letters and postcards. We bought quite a few of those. If anyone visited us within and met the senior age range, we sent them a postcard and welcomed them and let them know about the Silver Fit and Silver Sneakers program. Because a lot of people will come and they'll just pay the senior pass. They didn't realize they didn't get that one letter a year, and we connected them with the Silver Fit, or Silver Sneakers program, and then that saved them their all that money, every month, and then they go and tell their friends too. So it's really about making sure that we're keeping the ones that are coming happy too, because they're our best advocate as well. But yes, we have a lot more work that we could do as well.
Well, congratulations on the work that you are doing. And full disclosure, my son's been a personal trainer for 15 years, so I really applaud the work that you do and the contribution that you make to the health and welfare of your clients.
One thing I wanted to add, my wife is also a personal trainer at the Recreation Center as well. But one of our mentors in the Sacramento area, his name is Robert Linkle. He specializes in active aging, but also fall prevention. Mm-hmm. And so we're actually attending multiple of his workshops for the fall prevention aspect. And that is absolutely in the intent to bring those education materials to the Recreation Center. So that is absolutely something that's on my radar.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually, with the last 2 years ago, I tripped over my dog and fractured my arm. So, it's not even that people that are not fit. Mm-hmm. It's people that are in denial that they're aging and that their balance may be being impacted. And so, that educational component and also with respect to osteoporosis and the weight-bearing benefit of light weights and those kinds of things. I think it's coupling those two and through partnerships with senior centers and the healthcare community is, I think, a really good strategic approach as well.
I think in respect to your marketing comment, it's like you can tell someone 100 times until they want to hear it is when they're going to hear it. So it's like you said, you just keep up the barrage of marketing. I mean, I've seen the rec center pop-up tents at events and things, and it's like you just got to keep the repetition going, and when people need the service, they will seek it out and find it and know it's there. So.
And I just have one last comment, sorry. And this might be more towards the policy level, but another discussion that we had as a community when the rec center opened up was it being located so far in the southern part of the city. What was the city going to do in terms of making sure that we're able to get folks who live on the northernmost side of town there? So, the mention of VIA, the jump bikes, things like that. I know in the past we've talked about some special marketing programs. In the summertime, it's always a concern, especially with the pool, because the kids who want to use the pool that might live 3 miles away have more difficult time getting there. I have heard that lots of kids are using VIA to get there, though, to use the pool. So
Even my staff.
Pardon?
Even the staff.
That's really great to hear, and I think that's almost, I don't know if it's a solution, but it's a piece of the solution that we didn't know would exist years ago. So, I could just leave it at a comment. I know that we're always thinking about how to engage the citizens who live further away, but if there's anything going on, I'd love to hear about it, and if not, I just want to keep that out in the forefront of our thoughts as we do this stuff.
That's a good segue, because I actually wanted to add something, and just to prepare the commission for the next meeting, we're probably going to have the draft rec center business plan update document for your review. And I know Kaisa and Jake and all the rec center staff have been working really hard on it. It was one of the components of the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan effort. We tagged on to that effort an update to the rec center business plan, just so that we could make sure we were recommending investments, programming, opportunities that would ensure the rec center remains relevant and competitive in an environment where we are seeing more competition in the city. And that's a good thing, but we have a facility that we want to maximize the programming and benefit potential of. And so one of the things that has come out of that analysis to date is that outdoor recreation is a growing trend. And while we will do everything we can to maximize the programming within the existing building footprint, there really is a lot of opportunity to do things out in the community on our trails and at our park sites and in some of our waterway areas. And so I think that's something that we'll be looking at, as well as there were improvements in the Parks Master Plan 10-year CIP that looked at ways that we can continue to grow our customer base and expand it at the rec center. Very simple things like transitioning some spaces into uses that are just more on trend with what's happening right now. Business decisions like leasing equipment versus purchasing it means that you are continually having new, fresh equipment with all the gadgets on it that a lot of people like to use or not. So that's coming to you, and I know that all of the staff at the rec center have just been doing a really great job of looking at how the business is operating so that we can continue to move forward and create a long-term, financially sustainable facility that offers great programming.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, on to the consent agenda, which is item 3, consideration of the approval of minutes for the April 2nd regular meeting.
Second.
Is there any comments on the meeting minutes from April 2nd? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. Item moved by Commissioner Hargrove, seconded by Commissioner Eckler. Motion carried. Item 4 on the regular agenda, update on the statewide park development and community revitalization program and proposed grant applications from Business Manager Aaron Rivas.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Erin Rivas, and I am the new Parks and Recreation Business Manager. I'm here to present you with an update on the statewide park development and community revitalization program grant application activity. There we go. Okay. So the program is administered by the State Department of Parks and Recreation and is funded by Proposition 68. The program recognizes disparity in park access and moves to ensure park space to disadvantaged and park poor communities. Disadvantage means that the residents within that, they actually use a community fact finder tool to establish eligibility, and they put this little pinpoint deal on the park space. And with the census data within a half-mile radius of that park space is gathered. And so either the project has to qualify being disadvantaged, as in the median income in that radius is 80% of the state average income, or as park poor, which is less than 3 acres per 1,000 residents. Let's see, the competitive applications must be collaborative, and to get the maximum amount of points, we want to have at least 3 partners. It needs to involve extensive community outreach, so there needs to be, to get maximum points, it needs to have 5 or more public meetings per application, and that, of course, the deadline's August 5th, so it's kind of a condensed period. They also want to make sure they're using multiple means of communicating or inviting people to these sessions. So, mailing flyers, social media, maybe a radio station. Also, the project has to involve a learning or employment opportunity, and possibly volunteering and training. And let's see, they're due by August 5th, so we got to move pretty darn quickly. Okay. So the approved project types are new park development, property acquisition and recreational improvement, rehab of an existing park, and the expansion of an existing park. The eligible recreational features are athletic fields like baseball, soccer, football, sports courts, which would be like basketball, tennis, or pickleball, dog parks, skate parks, jogging, walking loops, outdoor gym, exercise equipment, barbecue, picnic areas. We have shaded playground structure, or playgrounds and tot lots, covered picnic shelters, and public art mosaics, sculpture, murals. The staff has identified sites that were called out in the West Sacramento Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan: Bright Park, West Acre Park, and 1504 Fallbrook Street site. And a fourth site that was mentioned in the Parks Master Plan but was not anticipated to be completed in the short term was the Bridge District Plaza. And the plaza was actually called out in the Bridge District specific plan. So the Bright Park site technically doesn't qualify according to the community fact finder. It doesn't meet, it's neither park poor or meet the median income requirement per the community fact finder tool, but staff believes that Bright Park actually is kind of what the whole program's about bringing parks to disadvantaged communities. That the tool's kind of goofy. It actually picks up census data from Natomas, which messes things up. So we've actually had staff look at other census. It's actually still census. It's the same census information using just a different data tool like ESRI, and that using ESRI, the exact same circumference, the median income falls within an eligible range. So we're working with people with the state and lobbyists to possibly get them to accept an alternate data set. So we'll keep you posted on that. If we're actually successful in the application process, we would go ahead, and the improvements would include a relocation and expansion of the softball complex, a central bathroom, snack shack, an all-weather soccer field, lighting in multiple soccer fields, and some parking. The West Acre Park site it qualifies both meeting park poor and median income requirements. If the grant application is successful and the grant awarded, the plan is to expand the park, renovate the skate park and basketball courts, provide shade structures, parking, and possibly a restroom. Okay, 1504 Fallbrook Street site qualifies under the Park Poor Community requirement. It's got kind of a crazy history, but it's actually a charter school site, and the playfields are underutilized or not utilized. So if we're able to, I guess, work with a joint use agreement with Washington Unified School District, we're able to actually open up those fields and have them available to the public for play. The improvements that we would propose if the grant application was successful would be to include a shade structure, picnic area, sports courts, an open playfield area, and a walking loop. Okay. The fourth, the Bridge District Plaza qualifies under Park POR. And if the grant application is successful, the plaza would provide a communal gathering space with some outdoor event venue infrastructure. It's right there at the end of Future Grand. It has some seating. I think it actually could even function as an amphitheater. It would be pretty darn cool. Okay, so I'm going backwards. There we go. All the way backwards. Hold on. Okay, next steps. So we actually have a kickoff meeting with some landscape architects and to talk about sort of game plan, scheduling these meetings, because basically we got 4 sites. We have 5 public meetings for each of them. So it's going to take some serious strategizing to get all this done. We have to get the public, the input for these projects, what the public would want to see. We need to show, to be competitive in these applications, that we've incorporated the public feedback into into the design concept plan. So tomorrow night I'm going to council to get resolutions to allow us to move forward with these grant applications. So basically between 6.6 and 8.4, we are busting our buns to work with the landscape architect firms and our project partners to conduct extensive community outreach and then get all the data from these public meetings and incorporate them into design plans, and then put together these packages, do 8.5 that are competitive. And then they should announce the grant awards probably early spring 2020, and then these projects have to be completed by March of 2022. So that concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
I'm sure we do. Matt, down there.
Thank you. I think this is great. I think this is the exact type of example that we talk about in the city. We don't usually suffer paralysis by analysis on some of this stuff. You guys as staff are really good at being able to identify opportunities, and then really good at being able to put stuff together to enable us, to position us to win the money, so or to be awarded the money. So I think that's great. Though having 5 public meetings on each one of these sites is going to be a challenge, and I know that's going to be a challenge just to get people to show up to them, because you're going to have some burnout there. Are you able to do concurrent or overlapping public meetings?
We have some thoughts, and we may have to woo them with food, but, you know.
Well, but could you do concurrent meetings and adjourn one meeting on one park site?
If you do like an afternoon/evening, that's what we've thought about doing, because you could, and we
you
might
could do time certains for each park, and so if folks are only interested about that one park, they would know that they could go there, and you could actually adjourn your 1504 Fallbrook meeting at a time set, and then start your next one.
Well, and there's a restrict. So we thought about having like a kickoff meeting, say, at the community center, and then we have the wrap up could be way across over here at the Galleria, and it's saying that they need to be located in the disadvantaged community, or we could make some accommodations to help them if there's like transportation challenges if we offered them something like VIA.
Well, I think you definitely should have a meeting within,
of course,
football throwing distance of the park.
Of
you really should do that.
Oh, yeah.
And yes.
Well, our thought was that some of the meetings can be held concurrently.
Okay, good.
So you could have a kickoff meeting where you can showcase all of the sites and collect information on all of the sites. You could do that twice in one day, different time slots, so there's 2 meetings.
Okay, good.
You could do the same thing with the wrap-up, but at some point in the middle of that process, you really do need to have an on-site meeting like we did at Memorial Park. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to work to consolidate as many as possible, but to get the maximum number of points, you really do need to show that you've at least had one meeting that's on site or within close proximity. So the West Acre site and the Fallbrook Street site, those are actually pretty close in proximity. I mean, but you still you want people to be out on the site to see the site. So I think it's probably going to look like 2 concurrent meetings on the front end, 2 concurrent meetings on the back end, and then 1 site-specific meeting for each of the sites. And that helps to kind of manage the burnout factor, and people who are closest to the specific park sites are likely to show up to those that are located in their neighborhood.
And we also thought about doing something like a walking audit to get people moving, but also to walk the parks to give us their feedback, what they would be interested in, if that might be something that people would dig.
Do you know what tool that, and I asked this because I helped work on a couple of the tools that are being used for socioeconomic measurements at the state level for different things locally. Do you know what tool it is that's picking up Natomas? Because that's the type of thing that was probably anticipated at some point, but wasn't written in a manner that allowed for some way out of that, and that obviously needs to get fixed. And in my day job, so a lot of my companies use those tools. Do you know which tool
It's
it
the
is?
Community Fact Finder.
Community Fact Finder?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they swear by it, but I think it allows them just to pinpoint things throughout the state, and they don't actually have to go look. But when you have these huge natural barriers like the Sacramento River, I mean, it seems to me like the tool's broken, and so it needs to be evaluated. And even if we don't make this round, I'd like to think that even for our next round, they'd consider Bright Park because it seems like a poster child almost for the program, really.
Well, that will be an ongoing issue with our community if that's happening on this one, and is something that shouldn't be that way and wouldn't be that hard to address. So, and then lastly, I would just suggest instead of calling it 1504 Fallbrook, we consider calling it the original Westmore Oaks.
We've been bouncing some back and forth.
Westmore Oaks OG or old Westmore Oaks Classic. And full disclosure, I'm an alumnus of Westmore Oaks Classic. But
isn't it going to be the Westmore Oaks future also?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes, it's so confusing.
Well, so I mean, but that's part of the confusion is because it's bouncing back and forth. So I think somebody did suggest Westmore Oaks Classic was the name to call it, just to differentiate it for the moment. But I think this is great. I think these parks you're picking out are good, and I think the one I'd love more information on is the Bridge District one. Is that actually a park? Is it a plaza? Is a plaza a park? And we know we know they're park poor right there right now because there's not a lot there. But that's the one I knew the least about of all these parks.
And I can speak to that just for a moment. I mean, it's not going to be a traditional park, but a plaza that can be used for programming is an eligible activity. And so what we've tried to do is target projects. We've looked at all of our park sites, and basically none of them in the Southport area are eligible. So looking on the north side, only a few of the sites are eligible based on this condensed performance period. So this particular round of funding, because the state launched it so late, has a very short time frame for completion. And that means you have to have sites that we already control the land or have the opportunity to enter into a partnership like with the school district to demonstrate site control. You pretty much have to have your environmental done, or you have to be eligible for an exemption. And then the improvements have to be such that they can be actually completed within about a year, because it takes about a year to get all of the design work done. So that limited the projects. We picked a project from each category. Land acquisition with some recreation improvements is the public plaza. Renovation of an existing park is Bright Park, and a certain percentage of the funding for this program must be spent on renovation of existing parks. So we're trying to hit that category. Westacre counts as an expanded park because the school district is interested in adding the additional property where the storage buildings are to Westacre Park, and so we'll be considering that as part of our evaluation process. And then new park development would be the Fallbrook site, the Westmore Oaks Classic, OG. Maybe the naming will be one of the first things that comes out of our community outreach. But we tried to hit every type of potential project as well in the program. It's a lot of work, but it tees us up for other grant funding if we're not successful with this particular program. We'll just have all that information ready to go for other opportunities.
Nate?
So in this effort that you're going through and doing for this, is it, with what the plan, is it an all or none, or is it each individual component would be, eligible on its own merits, so to speak? So, for example, the demographic issue going on with Bright, would that have an impact on other phases of it?
I don't know about Bright Park. I mean, the ongoing problem with Bright Park is that community fact finder map, and because we don't own it, for other funding sources, we don't own it. So it's a long-term joint use agreement. So Bright Park is probably the most challenging piece. But yeah, all of these are going to be individual applications.
Okay.
So none of them, the community fact finder thing only affects Bright Park.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know as sometimes these grant formulas come together, they're very specific, and you have to have something that satisfies each individual checkbox.
No, they each
for the
qualify on their
application.
own.
Okay. And then the other thing would be, and just to echo Commissioner Hargroves, if we can be strategic on our, the community meetings, just to go through and ensure that we're doing our best, and whether, I don't know if those could ever be done in some sort of digital format or whatever, where people can come in as a webinar or something along that line, to go through and give an alternative way for folks to engage in this, but to make it more efficient for you. Because, there's a lot here, right? So, it's going to stretch you and challenge you, but I know we have very capable people, and we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you. No, we even thought of it. Tracy's thinking about doing a radio call-in, spot to have people, contribute over the radio, and maybe that can count. It'll definitely count as a community engagement piece.
Yeah. No, I just think the more creative that we can, I think that certainly solidifies your message that you're using multiple means to do so and provide that feedback, but also the engagement from that if it makes it more efficient for you to do your delivery.
Yeah. And then we have a relationship with UC Davis. They've done some recent community outreach, which is quite helpful. They've already done it. They've gotten some really, really valuable data that we may be able to piggyback on and incorporate that into our findings. So we're feeling pretty optimistic.
Thank you.
Dave, you got anything?
I do. I think, here it is, the Bridge District. I think Tracy answered my question, and then I think Commissioner Eckler also kind of touched on it. But for clarification, the grant application, there was 5 components or 5 parks that were 5 areas that we're looking at that would cover the grant application requirements. Is that right? Or am I misunderstanding?
5 areas.
Sorry. There was 5. Let me
4
be
park
specific.
sites.
5 community meetings.
Oh,
pardon
yeah.
me. I'm getting 5 in my head, but there's 4 sites, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and each part of this grant has specifics to which I think Tracy was touching on, property acquisition, and then other areas, and that's why you selected the 4 that you did. Is that right?
Yeah, they're not competing.
Right, and so each one of them is going to be a separate grant application and pulled together. So there's a potential of getting all of them, one of them, 2 of them. It all depends on how the application process goes. Is that right? Am I understanding? Okay.
Yep.
So the first part was just a clarification question, and then the other part was about the property acquisition. So one of them, which is the plaza area, right, the Bridge District, that's actually property that needs to be purchased for that part of it. Okay.
Which is part of an option agreement that's related to a development agreement. So it's been in the works for a really long time. So.
Okay, and then 3 of the 4 sites selected are also joint with the Washington Unified School District, right?
And they are on board.
They are on board.
Yes.
Okay, great. So all the communication's already there. Everything's set up. That's excellent.
They volunteered to partner with us.
All right, that's great.
Yes.
So then my last thing was just maybe more of a suggestion or just a comment on the meetings. I know you have a huge task at hand to get this all done in that short timeline, and there's going to be logistics involved in trying to conduct these 5 meetings to meet the requirements. But being as they're spread out kind of around the city, I would imagine that most people who live in those areas are going to be the ones who might utilize, other than maybe the Bridge District one, where the people might come in for the barn or whatnot, and then also utilize, or as you said, an amphitheater, they might come in specifically for that. But if they live in those Westmore Oaks areas and they're near those parks, to have an on-site community meeting, I think, would be really key to this. I mean, so that you have the people who are close to the park be able to provide input on what they want to see in their neighborhood. I think that, so as difficult as it may be, I know it might be, challenging, but I think that would be a really key factor in getting good community input on those specific sites.
We're working on door hangers right now.
Oh, excellent. All right. So that's it. Thank you. And nice job. Thank you.
That's what I was going to say about the community outreach for those specific sites is always the kind of feedback is, well, I didn't know about it, is how do you get that information out to the people who you actually want to go there and to everyone else who has a stake in this in the entire city, because it's not just the people that live there that use that park, because, like I live down the other side of town and I was at Bright Park yesterday. It was, you are where you are. But also looking at it from the sense that, like you said, you hit the 4 sites that satisfy the grant requirements. So we're looking at it as these are 4 sites. It wasn't that the city picked these because they wanted to do something there. It was these are the sites that meet the requirements, that check the boxes, and that when you, like I said, 4 different applications, it's not like you can say, hey, the Bridge District one, we were awarded that, but we didn't get the money for the Fallbrook site. So we're not doing the Fallbrook site, we're doing the Bridge District site, is being able just to sort of document that these were separate processes so that it's not like this like kind of feeling around town that's like, oh, well, they just did another project where they wanted to do another project. So it's like you said, you're documenting all this stuff, you're having the meetings, you're having the outreach. I think a lot of that is more just to make sure that you're getting that input from those right people, but also making sure that they're aware of what's going on. So it's as much educating the public on what the intent of this is, rather than just saying, hey, tell us what you want this park to look like. So I think you got all that laid out here, so it's going to be a great summer for you. You're going to be busy, but it'll be fun. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just have one question that follows up actually on Commissioner Jan's question. So in this process, each of these applications will be a separate application. What is your experience, or what does your experience tell you about the prospects of getting multiple applications from the same city approved in a competitive process like this one?
I'm not worried about it. I mean, I think if we do our job and check all the boxes, we'll be fine. I mean, they're not going to be competing against each other, so I can't imagine that would be an issue.
No, and the way the evaluation criteria works, you would get the most amount of points for a new park development in a community that is both park poor and extremely disadvantaged. We actually don't have that scenario. So on the different park project types, you get the most points for a new park. You get the next highest number of points for park expansion. You get the 3rd highest number of points for renovation. So, and then so we have this. We've got all of these different factors that go into each specific project, and some of those factors are relative to the other applications received. Mm-hmm. So you don't know how you're going to score in with some of the criteria, because it's highly dependent on the other applications. You may have other communities that are more disadvantaged than you, so you can get the maximum number of points possible for your community, but they're never going to be as high as another community's points because they're more disadvantaged. So we have a real mixture of options with each of the sites, and all of the sites, with the exception of the Bridge District Plaza acquisition, were already identified in our park master plan as near-term park project needs. So we really looked at everything in trying to come up with what we felt was the most responsive, responsible, competitive potential project for this particular program. And it really is difficult to know how some of these projects are going to rank, but they're all going to be scored very differently from each other because they all have different strengths.
I think the other real positive that comes out of this is obviously the goal is to get the grant, but if you don't get the grant, you already collected so much data and information on the wants and needs of those communities, and you're able to then look at it from a 10-year CIP type thing. It's like, well, do we want to continue doing this on our own, even without the grant? And you'll have a sense of how much it's really going to cost.
Yeah, it'll give us updated, cost estimates, but also I think a big piece of it is letting the community know that we're doing something. People that that play in Bright Park sometimes feel like they've been forgotten, and they'll see that we're still trying. And some of the other park projects. So they know that we're really moving and trying to get the improvements that they're wanting. I think that'll be a big boost for them.
One more, Nate?
A couple other things. How much money is available, and are we required to do any type of matching funding or any, that type
No
of
match
thing?
requirement.
Okay. And what's? how much-
$8.5 million per project.
How much?
$8.5 million per project.
That's substantial.
The
Yes.
generous grant.
$4 billion,
Go get
I
it.
think. I think I read it was 4.1 billion available statewide. Is that right?
Yeah,
That
that's what
might
it says
be-
in here.
I don't remember what the whole number was.
Somewhere I read it somewhere in the report. I don't remember where.
Right here.
Yeah, it's quite generous.
4.1
So, yeah,
billion
no
for-
match requirement.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
So as we say, it's always great to use someone else's money to build
It
it.
makes shopping so much more fun.
Well, it's still our money, right? If you really break it down.
It's the global R. Anything else for Erin before we let her off the hook here?
I think you guys are being smart and strategic and striking hard as usual. Good job.
And welcome, right? You said you were the new business manager.
It's 6 weeks almost?
Yeah.
So
But
they
you've
gave
been
you a
here-
light project to get started with.
Yeah.
I know. I've been to the city for 13 years, so I knew what I was jumping into, so it's all good.
All right,
Thank you
thank
for all
you.
you're
Thank
doing.
you, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, General Administration Function Part 2, Item 5A, Director's Report.
Yes. There we go. A couple of items for you tonight. I did want to introduce Erin Rivas, as our new business manager. As she mentioned, she's been with the city for a long time in a variety of capacities in redevelopment, economic development, in flood planning, community development. She really brings to our department a wide range of expertise, and she is also worked on a number of high-profile grant applications and implementing grant-funded projects, so we feel very fortunate to have her. And yes, this first push is a mighty one, but I know she's up to the task. So welcome to Erin. I did want to give you an update on the Memorial Park ADA Upgrades project. We did receive bids last week for the project, and we're still working to refine the evaluation of that process. But based on the numbers that came in, we're working to identify over $1 million of additional funding that will be needed to fully implement the project with all of the additional preferred amenities that we brought to this commission, I think it was in October of last year. So those additional items included the sunken dugouts instead of at-grade dugouts. It included a combined restroom concession building. The restroom building was absolutely necessary for ADA, as part of our ADA litigation. The concession building was you either have it ADA compliant or you don't have it. So to tag it onto the restroom building is really the most cost-effective way to do that. We also had a picnic shade pavilion structure, which we know from all of the work, all of the outreach and survey work completed for the Parks Master Plan, that covered picnic shelters were actually one of the top amenities that people in the community wanted to see more of. We identified enhanced irrigation that would be needed to help us meet our water conservation goals, to also accommodate some of the disruption that would be taking place on site. And then scorekeepers booths, so that's very much like the concession building. If you're going to have them, they have to be ADA compliant. You can choose to not have them. We wanted to include them based on all of the community input we received. We had shared these additional features with the commission, also shared them with the council for their support in including them in the actual designs for the project. So we got bids received based on those features being part of the overall project, and are working to identify an overall funding strategy that we hope to take to council on June 19th with a construction contract. But there are a few items that are long lead items that we need to order as soon as possible. And so we are taking an item to City Council tomorrow night for their consideration to actually purchase a couple of those long lead items. That includes the combined restroom concession building, the picnic shade structure, and also the scorekeepers booth. So we have a very, very tight construction schedule for this project to avoid impacts of the park usage. And so we are going to be asking council for their consideration to go ahead and purchase some of those additional features. So I just wanted to give the commission a heads up on that. We are anticipating that if the construction contract goes to council on the 19th, we would be issuing a notice to proceed late June so that construction could start in early July. The second item, and we can come back to this if you have questions too. The second item that I wanted to provide an update on was that we continue to try to implement the Bright Park Master Plan with grant funding opportunities. We applied for the Cultural, Community, and Natural Resources Grant Program for Bright Park improvements. That was a smaller grant program, offered $30 million statewide for a variety of recreation improvements. We threw our hat in the ring. We were not invited to continue on in that process. So it just kind of points to the continued challenge we have with Bright Park as a really high-functioning facility, making the case that it really is in need of major renovations and being able to meet some of the eligibility requirements that a lot of the grant programs have attached to them now. I also wanted to let you know that every couple of years, our department likes to host a parks tour. We partner with YCTD and get a bus, and we tour not only this commission, but we invite the Arts Commission as well to participate in any other interested parties, a lot of new employees. We showcase a lot of our park projects. We try to mix it up every few years. So we felt like this year was a good time to offer that again, and we're looking at Thursday, June 27th in the morning. We can send out that date to you via email just to confirm your availability or an interest to participate. Right now, we're thinking of starting in the morning about 8:30 and then ending at the barn with lunch and then coming back to City Hall. We will feature a variety of park sites, probably go by the ones that we're going to be applying for grant funding for, just so that everybody has a chance to see those, as well as highlight some of our art. And then I also just want to encourage you all to check out Westsac Play's website at westsacplay.org. They are sponsoring a number of events this summer that help raise funding for our department, specifically shade structures for a lot of our play areas and parks. And they've got concerts in the parks and splash nights at Bridgeway Lakes Park. So check out their website. Great events, and we're really, excited and fortunate to be able to work with them. So that concludes my update. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Matt?
As well, I've asked questions on every other item. So I just want to, on Memorial Park, just so folks are listening at home, when the council received the item and gave you the okay to move forward, at that point it was identified that you had a certain amount of money already identified for the project, and at that time you were still going to need to look the CIP or whatever they call it for the additional funding for a total of about $1.9 million, right?
Correct.
So you're still in that process of talking with the folks with the green eye shades on, and this isn't a new hole that you're looking for. This is what you've known as part of the plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we purposefully did not develop a funding strategy at that time because we knew that the bids were coming back on projects so varied. We wanted to wait until we had the bids so that we had a funding strategy based on our actual funding need.
Are they coming in where you thought they would be?
They're coming in close to where we thought they would be. A little higher, but close.
So neither one of you guys look too stressed out. So I'm going to read from that. Things are moving forward in a manner that you had hoped. Okay. I don't know if you can talk about something that wasn't in your report. I was just curious where we are on Heritage Park. I know that was delayed a lot by the rains. And any update on that?
Actually, the street frontage improvements started a few months ago, and then they had to be stopped because the soil was so wet they could not meet the compaction requirements. And so we just felt like it was going to be better to pull the contractor off the site, let the soil dry, then they can come back in and finish it. So hopefully now they're going to be remobilizing on site to finish that portion of the project. The ropes course operator, Clutterwald, is also moving forward. They actually started to do tree work on the site. They've had an arborist out there doing the tree work and the pruning and additional analysis as they finalize their site plan for submittal at the city for their permits. So that submittal is supposed to happen this week or early next week, and then they can continue to move forward with working on the site improvements. So they anticipate a soft opening in early 2020 for the ropes course.
Just one thing, as far as the tour that you have lined out, is there? Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend it because I'll be out of the area. But is there a way that perhaps that either the information or at least the tour itself could be generated so that we can become engaged and actually take the information, and even if it's a self-guided tour or whatever, but be able to at least have all of that to proceed around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tracy, regarding the lead time on the building and the shade component for the picnic area, is there a drop dead date where they need to be ordered by? If they're not ordered, then it would essentially delay it? Or, do we have that information? Or
I don't have the drop dead date, but I know it was close enough where they felt like they couldn't wait another 2 weeks before taking the construction contract to council for consideration.
Okay. So if it wasn't approved, or if there was a delay coming up here tomorrow night or later, then we could be potentially delaying the project, or
some components of it,
Okay.
possibly.
Okay.
I don't have anything. Thank you. Item 5B, back on the agenda for us is future item requests within the scope of the commission. I think we got one of the Heritage Park thing answered. Is there any other future
I do.
item requests? Suzanne?
I'm just going to repeat my request that we get an update on the age-friendly city plan implementation, and in particular, I know that integrates with so many other activities that the city is involved in, and kind of a conceptual vision of how implementation of the age-friendly city plan integrates with the rest of our activities.
Dave?
I talked with Katie at one point during last week or something about members of the public or other organizations, if they wanted to make a presentation or get something onto our agenda, how all that works. Are people aware of that process? And is that something that we can share, or how does that work?
Yeah, if there's an organization that's interested in making a presentation, they reach out to the city. And if it's within the purview of this commission, we can certainly schedule that as one of the presentation items. We also did provide to you the summary of the City Council strategic plan, your bookmarks. And so I just wanted to highlight this, that we welcome ideas and suggestions for future input or future item requests. And we always do our best to try to accommodate them. Sometimes we've got to put some things in the parking lot because this is sort of our direction for the year. But we're always welcome to ideas such as Commissioner Reed's suggestion of having an update on our age-friendly action plan. Those are pretty easy items for us to accommodate the commission meetings. So thank you for any of your suggestions. We welcome them.
Anything else? And Nate?
One last thing. Just going back and looking at some of the involvement that we're asking within the rec center or these public meetings or other things as well to utilize some more of our parks and recreation resources. Is there a way or possibility that we can perhaps and I just also look at it as part of the master plan about alternative transportation. Is there a way that we can engage, say, via or some of these rideshare programs at a discounted rate or whatever, to utilize some of our resources? For example, again, I know it would be a bit nebulous on the implementation, but say if you were to look at participation in these meetings or engagement at the rec center, is there something that there's a discounted ride capability where, folks might want to utilize some of these resources to better utilize some of the availability of our opportunities?
I'm going to switch mics because I can't get that one to go on. Absolutely. When we offer discounted rates, I mean, oftentimes the funding to support the full cost has to come from somewhere. So a lot of times we can actually use grant programs to help facilitate that. And we definitely explore those opportunities whenever we can. Even when we have private vendors coming into town for special events, we always try to cross-promote via and jump bikes, our scooters. So there are opportunities. We can't always accommodate, but we certainly try to and can continue to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up, since you've brought our attention to the strategic plan, with my statement about conceptualizing the aging plan relative to the rest of our priorities, because anyone looking at this would not see the aging plan on here. But in fact, there are many elements that are prioritized here that are relevant and integrate with an age-friendly city, including, of course, VIA and affordable housing and the mental health awareness. And so I think painting that picture for our constituents so that they understand that just because the word's not there, it doesn't mean that everything that we're doing doesn't somehow impact or try to benefit that segment of our population.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, just one last thing. Well, first of all, I just realized that we've been talking about age-friendly stuff all night at this commission. And I think that is, it's great because I didn't really think about it until the commissioner just spoke. But that was the point of when the commissions got moved around a little bit, was to have those conversations happening about age friendliness at this commission instead of just focusing on younger folks. So I think that's great to just realize that it's working. That's kind of neat. Just for future, and I know we'll do this, but this might not seem to be in the purview of this commission, but I believe it absolutely is. And that's, I know the Measure N implementation plan is moving forward. Measure N had 3 components to it. It was public safety, it was inclusive economic development, and it was community development. And I think that, especially the community development stuff, but I'd also argue economic development is greatly within our purview here. I think parks add a lot of value, trails add a lot of value to a city and make people and businesses want to move there. So to the extent possible, I would just generally love to know what's going on with Measure N implementation.
There's actually, that's a good question. The draft Measure N policy is also going to council for consideration tomorrow evening. So if you go online, you can look at the agenda report related to that item and get some information about how that policy's been further developed.
So then as that policy gets laid out, parts of it will probably come back to us to be able to look at details. Like if they say, yeah, we're going to fund this park, obviously then that part will come back for us to look at too.
Absolutely.
All right, no more future item requests. We just need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion. Second.
So motion by Commissioner Eckler, seconded by Commissioner Reed. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.